Rayman 1 is one of my favorite games of all time. One of my fondest childhood memories was figuring out the meaning of the universe and trying to beat Rayman 1 with my brother. This game was so incredibly hard that the format was easier. The meaning of the universe is to make bad YouTube content. In this video I'll talk about Rayman 1 and how I think its difficulty wasted some of the franchise's potential. Rayman 1 was a great game for its time and it was met with great reviews. It was the only good game ever made by Ubisoft, making Rayman 1 the 9th wonder of the world. Even though the game had a lot of mainstream success, it is not up there with the first Mario or Sonic games in terms of legacy and memory. And that is probably a result of the mismatch in intended target group and the actual game. What the f? The game seems cheery, colorful and kid-friendly. However, the difficulty is steep enough to emasculate average Dark Souls enjoyers. I got the game when I was 3 years old and I finally beat it at the age of 8. And that was only because I was a social outcast with no friends, leaving me plenty of time to practice video games. It's funny how some things never change. The setup is pretty simple. We have a mysterious antagonist named Mr. Dark and a titular hero, Rayman. Mr. Dark stole the literal life force of the universe, so it's up to our limbless hero to save the day. On paper, this game looks like nothing special, but looks can be deceiving. The game tricks you into thinking it will go easy on you, and you start off in a colorful forest level where risk of death is minimal. You unlock your powers later in the game, so you don't have them for this level. You wrongfully think you don't need them either. When you breeze through the first level, you're convinced this is an easy, forgiving platformer. Foolishly, you think you stand a chance. The music changes in the second level and the colors turn darker, cluing you in on what's to come next. Suddenly, enemies spawn in and you have no way of defending yourself yet. In this stage of the game, it's best to treat enemies like the IRS. Avoidance is the key. Later on, you unlock the ability to shoot literal fists from your body with the fury of 1,000 directions, which is not only hardcore as fuck, but also the only way to defend yourself in this game. But then you find out that it takes effort to hit your shots, and even then, most enemies don't die in one hit. This is problematic. When an enemy hits you, you'll also be knocked back, which in a time-precise platform sequence will kill you. When all your yellow dots turn red, or when you fall in the many death pits the game has, you lose a life. You can gain a life by getting a life pickup that doesn't respawn, collecting 100 blue balls, or playing a minigame that only gives you 1 life for each one. That's it. Also, if you die, your blue ball counter resets to 0, which makes collecting blue balls a lot harder than it is in real life. Lose all your lives and you'll be sent to the Walk of Shame, where you have to choose if you want to use one of your 5 continues. Use all of them and it's game over for your sorry ass. Don't have a memory card? Of course you don't, it's 1995. Die! The further you get into the game, the harder the levels will become. Each world has a boss, which all have their own special gimmicks. They take a few tries to figure out, which will only cost you more lives. So when you make it through all of the levels, you can start to find a boss fight, right? No. In order to unlock the final level, you have to open all cages that are scattered across the levels. It does not help that some cages are more elusive than women after I tell them I run a gaming channel on YouTube. This game has a mechanic where stuff spawns into a level when you touch a specific spot, which is characterized by a sound cue. However, sometimes it spawns off screen and if you miss it, tough shit, you have to go through the whole level again. You can only exit a level on the first stage, so if you miss a cage in the later levels, you just have to do it all over again, with all the consequences it has. After opening all 102 cages, the final level unlocks. Here, we traverse a glitchy skiing sequence, a debuff that mirrors our controls, a debuff that forces us to run, and a demon that is forged in the bowels of hell that mirrors our movement, and if we touch it, we die. If that is not enough to stop you, you can finally face off against Mr. Dark. But homie just dips, you fight a mixture of bosses that you already faced, and you never have a one-on-one fight with the actual antagonist. When you finish the game, you are awarded with this.
You've done it! You've saved the world!
That was cool. Yeah.
All in all, it's pretty underwhelming after everything you've been through. So how did the difficulty waste the potential that this game had? I think the game tries to be accessible for everyone. It looks and feels like a kid-friendly game, yet the difficulty is so high that not many people will actually complete it. This game has been sold 5 million times in the UK for the PsOne, but only 3 of them actually saw the end credits. Which is a shame, because the art style is charming and the music is out of this world. In fact, the soundtrack to this game is one of the reasons that inspired me to want to become a musician myself.
Yeah.
I've been using songs from the game for this video, so that will give you an impression how great the music is. The soundtrack holds a special place in my heart. In summary, we have a game that is targeted towards a young audience, judging by the style. However, the difficulty is probably the first experience someone would have with masochism in their life.
Woo!
It's just too hard to be an actual kids game, but seems too childish to actually resonate with older audiences. Because of the difficulty, the intended target group of the game probably gave up after the first few levels, because this game is just too hard for someone who spends their time playing on a PlayStation and eating crayons. It would have been interesting to see where the franchise would be now if the game found more footing in a broader audience. Rayman was successful in its own right and spawned many spin-offs and sequels. Unfortunately, the franchise has since lost steam. I think the franchise would have been a lot bigger if the difficulty was toned down by quite a margin so that more people would have seen the potential this game had. However, it seems that Rayman 1 was not adequately playtested during development, which could explain its skewed difficulty and why a lot of people never fully saw what the game had to offer. On the other hand, the difficulty could also be a good thing. The feeling of actually passing a level you have been hard stuck on for a long time is something that I only feel when playing Dark Souls. Oh no! And consuming copious amounts of crack cocaine. The consensus is that Rayman 1 is too difficult, but it's also part of the charm. The game is still beloved by hardcore players and speedrunners who continue to set world records to this day. One question still remains though: when the fuck are we getting Rayman for Smash?